Welcome back, grade fours. Today we are going to be learning about, the French culture in Alberta and also about missionaries. This is going to be an interesting lesson. It kind of shows us why we study French in our school in Alberta, even though we all speak English. It shows us why it's important that we learn French as Albertans. So let's just get right into it because there is a fun activity at the end. I say that almost every time, but I think you're gonna like the next activity as you usually do. So you should be on this page right here. Nope, there's the title, that'll help, about missionaries. Did you know that French was the first European language spoken in Alberta and not English? So our first settlers were French. In the 19th century, so that's the 1800s, the French began to create permanent settlements in Alberta. Many of these communities were created by missionaries from Quebec who came to Alberta to teach their beliefs to the First Nations people. So I'd like you to right now pause this video. All right, just make sure you get the instruction. And then you're going to use the link I gave you to dictionary.com, and I want you to find the definition of what a missionary is and write it down here. Make sure it makes sense. Okay, so pause the video and go and do that. Perfect. So now that you know what a missionary is, I'll just give you a little more of a backstory. So missionaries are still something that somebody can be today. So basically what would happen is, as you know, as we've learned, that in France, the Catholic Church was one of the most important things to the people. So they would go to church and they were Catholic, and that was their religion. So they kind of believed that when they came over to Alberta and Canada, just in general, and they met the First Nations, well, the First Nations had their own religion and their own spiritual beliefs, as we've learned about with the teepee. And when I talked about the different legends and histories and oral histories that the First Nations had, well, the French, and then sometimes the English also, but we're mostly talking about the French believed that it was their duty to go into the First Nations settlements or their homes and teach them about the Christian and Catholic faith. So that was what a missionary was. They would teach the First Nations people their religion, and that still happens today. There's some religions and religious organizations in Canada that will go travel to other countries that don't have the same church, and they will go and teach about their religion in, let's say, Africa and other countries like that. So that's what a missionary is. They bring their religion to other places. The first permanent Catholic mission was set up in 1844 by Father Jean-Baptiste Thibault in Lac Saint Anne, so it's like Lake Saint Anne, and was designed to teach the First Nations people of the area about the teachings of the church, as well as how to farm. So not only would they teach them about the church, they would teach them how to farm, which is important because due to the demise, so the death of the buffalo, and so they could sustain themselves. So at this point, they had hunted the buffalo into extinction. So the French came and they said, well, let us teach you religion, but also how to farm, because you're going to all die if you don't have enough food. And because all they knew really was hunting the buffalo and other animals. Shortly after 1861, St. Albert was founded. Sound familiar? St. Albert's in Alberta. St. Albert was founded by and named after Father Albert Lacombe. Lacombe is also a town or city in Alberta. He had an important role in helping the Cree and Blackfoot people achieve peace with each other. So the missionaries did a lot. In 1863, the Grey Nuns came to St. Albert. Nuns are women in the church that would sometimes teach in schools. Nuns taught in the residential schools that we've talked about, but they were part of the Catholic Church as well. You've probably seen a picture of a nun. They wear like a black veil and then like a black dress with white. They did work of many different professionals. So nuns were doctors, teachers, nurses, and they built hospitals and schools, as well as cared for children who had no parents, so like an orphanage. From there, many other settlements followed before the turn of the century, such as St. Paul, Lacombe, Grande Prairie, and Legal. In the fall of 1874, Frank and Joseph Lamoureux became the first Francophone settlers to claim land in Alberta for farming. They created a settlement, which still exists as a hamlet to this day, called Lamoureux, which was built on the banks of the North Saskatchewan River, directly across the river from Fort Saskatchewan, which was built the next year. So these missionaries are teaching the children, they're creating hospitals, they're helping the First Nations learn how to farm, and while they're doing that, they are teaching about their religion. So they settled a lot of Alberta, which is why we're going to do the next project. So you're going to get to make a postcard. The French were the first Europeans to create settlements in Alberta, and because of this, there are many cities, towns, villages, and hamlets, like what Langdon is, that have French names. So you've probably driven through a few of these and had no idea that they were a French settlement before. These places were often named after missionaries that found them. So the French missionaries, if they made the settlement, they got it named after them. So here are some examples: St. Albert, St. Paul, Grande Prairie, Morinville, Vegreville, Lamoureux, Legal, Lacombe, Leduc, Bonaccord, Villeneuve, I apologize, Beaumont, Grand Cache, Mayette, Lac La Biche, and Baller. So to help others learn more about these places, you're going to make a French town postcard. So you're going to choose one of those places that I just named, and then you're going to make a postcard. So the front of your postcard should say the words visites. So that means visit. So you're going to write visites and then the name of whichever one you choose. So this person chose St. Albert. And then you're going to draw a drawing of your chosen city or town. The drawing should be an important landmark, such as a building or a place in the city or town. So like if you do Leduc or Lacombe or Bonaccord, just pick an important building. You could do this by, what you're going to do is you're going to Google the place that you choose. Oh, wrong tab. Oh, it's this one. What am I doing? Okay. So in order to get the picture, you want to Google like interesting places. I chose Grande Prairie. Interesting places in Grande Prairie. They have a giant sundial. That could be something to take or to draw. They have a heritage village. You could draw that. You don't really want to draw like hotels that you see anywhere. You could draw like the nice views. And then if you want, you can click like websites. So I see this says Grande Prairie Tourism. And that's going to give me some stuff to draw, hopefully. So there's some pictures I could draw. Down here, it tells me different places that are in Grande Prairie. So there's the museum you could draw. The Adventure Park, Saskatoon Island, Visitor Information Center. So I think I would choose the sundial, but just Google interesting places in Grande Prairie. You could draw interesting buildings. You get the sundial. Also, please make sure that you're actually getting places that are real. Like this, I don't believe is in, maybe that is in Grande Prairie, but I don't know. Is this in Grande Prairie? Cardinal Building. Hi, Grande Prairie. Let's look. Grande Prairie Regional College. That's a really cool building. Yeah, it looks like that is in Grande Prairie. Cool. So there's a lot you can Google to try to find things to draw on your postcard. So once you find something to draw, please draw it. And then on the back of your postcard, you must include 3 facts. 1 fact about who the city and town was named after, and then 2 other interesting facts. So I'm just going to go with St. Albert because I don't want to give away Grande Prairie's interesting facts. So I'm going to go back to all, like Google all, and then I'm going to say, who was St. Albert? Not Alberta. St. Albert named after. The original settlement was named after St. Albert by Bishop. So that's it. The original settlement was named after St. Albert. And then you could add St. Albert of Louvain. And then, so that's your one interesting fact. And then if you want to go into Wikipedia right here, you could look up different interesting facts. So you could say it's on the Sturgeon River. You could say it received its first town status in 1904. You could say, oh yeah, when and was reached by the Canadian Northern Railway in 1906, second largest city in the Edmonton metropolitan region. You could write one fact about the history. So just make sure that your information is accurate. If you need any explanation, let me know. Yeah, so one fact about who it was named after and 2 other interesting facts. So this is what they did. I think those facts are kind of boring. I think you guys could find more interesting facts. This page that you have in front of you, it says front. That is going to be the front cover of your postcard. And then right here is going to be the back of your postcard. So make sure you do number 1, 2, and 3 for your facts. Yeah. So pause the video, go make your postcard, and then come back and we will learn a little bit more about Francophone Alberta. Okay, welcome back. So I kind of realized that you might not know what Francophone is, but it's just people who speak French. We are Anglophones because we speak English. They're Francophones, they speak French. So let's read on. Alberta's rich Francophone culture is not just in the past. There are strong Francophone communities all throughout Alberta, from the tiniest hamlets to the big cities east of Calgary and Edmonton, which we just learned about. Did you know that there are several French school boards throughout the province? So we belong to an English school board, but there are French school boards. These school boards provide cultural and language programming for students from Francophone families and students who are fluent. That means they always speak French. They can speak full French. Take a moment, pause the video, and answer this question. Why do you think it is important for Francophones in Alberta to be able to send their children to school that teach French language and culture? So think deeply about that. Why is it important that they get to learn what we learn, but in French? Okay. Now that you're back after answering that question, let's keep going. So French news. Francophones also have established their own French newspaper called Le Franco. You can browse the newspaper online at this website. It'll be in your assignment. Take a look through it. Just pause the video right now. Take a look through it. And then there's also the CBC radio app. You can look through that on your free time. Or no, it wants you to look at it right now. Sorry. So that link will be in your assignment as well. Please make sure that you go check it out and then write down any French words that you understand from both the websites. So fingers crossed we understand some, or take a guess. I want you to write the word and then a little dash and then what you think it means. Almost done here, guys. Good work today. We're going to keep going. Culture and celebrations. An example of how modern French Canadian communities celebrate their culture is the Flying Canoe Volant Festival. I hope I'm saying that right. You'll find out. This is a cultural event that is inspired by a famous French Canadian folk tale, The Legend of the Flying Canoe. This festival takes place in the French Quarter in in Edmonton, Alberta, and celebrates French Canadian and Métis, which we're going to learn about soon, culture and history. This is a French community that features Francophone businesses, restaurants, a library, a farmer's market, and more. The University of Alberta even has a French campus called the Campus Saint-Jean. There's also a French school in that area. So there's a whole area in Edmonton where it's all French-speaking people. That's pretty cool. You can hear the legend of the Flying Canoe and watch a promotional video. It's like an advertisement for the festival below. So I'm going to provide you with both of these video links in your assignment. And then there are many versions of this folktale. You can even find this folktale in the form of a children's book, like the one by Roche Carrière, a famous French Canadian novelist. He also wrote the famous French Canadian story, The Sweater, a story that touches on French-Canadian hockey team Les Canadiens de Montreal, the Montreal Canadiens. So you can watch that down here, or you can watch that in the video also attached to this assignment. So that is the information about Francophone Alberta. There is a big French community here, and they're very proud. So I hope you enjoyed learning about them. Next week, we are going to learn about the Métis, which is a very important part of Canada and Alberta's history. So I hope you guys did a good job today. I'm excited to see your postcards. See you later.